you.
All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for this evening. And the first order of business will be the approval of the minutes.
Move the minutes for the July 11th, that's the last time we've met.
Yeah.
July 11th, 2024 meeting be approved as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Well, they've got to abstain.
Abstain.
And abstain.
Abstain.
Okay.
You had 3 ayes?
Dan,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
3 ayes.
3 ayes.
Okay, so Kevin, if you would please present the first order of business.
Okay. To clarify, the person who, the entity who received an approval 2 years ago for 332 Baltimore Pike lives in Georgia, so he was not able to get here tonight. He did submit a letter, which you all have, and that is an explanation of why he needs to have an extension of 1 more year. If the extension is granted, it would be granted to September of '25, not from a year from today. As an explanation, there's no requirement that the Planning Commission must review and approve immediately after somebody expires. And because you didn't have any other submissions, the chair and I put our heads together and said, well, maybe it doesn't make sense to have the Planning Commission meet for just this one item. So that is before you. The approval is for a restaurant, which is like a little barbecue shack that they were wanting to develop. And that I believe they've had difficulty getting approved access.
All right.
Yeah, I might add that the applicant lives in Georgia because he's serving there with the U.S. military. So that's another reason for him not to be here.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this?
So, Lois, just a couple questions. In the second paragraph, Bud's Car Wash, he's only willing to offer a construction easement and willing share the egress permanently. What does he mean there? Does he really mean unwilling to share the egress, or is willing to share the egress?
The access for that particular parcel is about a 10-foot wide driveway that used to be, well, it was likely at one point a residence. For a commercial entity, he would have to double the size of that access, and he would need to go through State Highway to do that. It's doubtful that State Highway would give him that access, but he needs to make that effort. He I believe, was counting on going through Bud's Car Wash to get full access to the site. So you could get an ingress through Bud's Car Wash and an egress through his own property.
So if he can't convince Bud for the state highway to accommodate him, then he can't do this at all anyway.
I don't believe so.
So what he's saying is that Bud is unwilling to share the egress.
Yeah, I think Bud was, based on my conversations with the applicant, that Bud was willing to give him a construction easement, but
Not
the
a-
town would require, and I believe you required, a permanent access through the
Access.
property.
And Bud is unwilling to give him the permanent access.
Yes.
Okay. And then, we've already discussed it, but in the last paragraph, and extend the approval period until 1 year from the original expiration, September 2nd, 2022. He doesn't mean that.
No, he doesn't.
No. Okay, so
No.
you have already explained.
Yeah, he
what
would be,
this-
he would be extending it from September 2nd, 2024 to September 2nd,
Right.
2025.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other comments, questions?
I move that we accept the applicant's request to extend his approval to September 2nd, 2024 through September 2nd, 2025.
Second.
Well, is everyone allowed to vote on that, or is it just the three of us?
Because the criteria is that you're really judging this applicant on his ability to complete the project, you're not really judging the project itself, I would say all 5 can vote.
Okay. Jimmy?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes then. Thank you. And now.
Did the chair vote aye?
And the chair voted aye.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure.
3 months ago. Yes. All right, if you please present the second item.
Okay. Actually, I would kind of explain the letter for the applicant, but I'll let applicant's representative present their request.
Evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chairperson. How are you, Ms. Scully? Members of the Commission.
I'm fine, how are you?
Robert Cahoe, representing 9 South Hickory Avenue, representing Jabber 5, Inc. We're here for an one-year extension of site plan approval and landscaping approval, which the Planning Commission granted just about exactly a year ago. I think it was December 1st of 2022. This, of course, will be for Hickory Flats across the street, and I think everybody's aware of Hickory Flats, what it is. I have with me tonight Tom Miner, who's a project engineer from Frederick Ward Associates. I don't really plan to have him testify. If anybody has any questions about the facility, proposed facility itself, he's here to answer questions. There has been no change from what you had approved 2 years ago. There's no change in the site plan, no change in the landscaping plan, no change of any nature. We were before the Board of Appeals 3 weeks ago or so. The 1.5-foot height variance had inadvertently expired. So we asked for an extension of that. We essentially asked for a new variance, 1.5 foot, exactly the same as we had asked for before. Testimony was that Mr. Minor probably won't be as much as 1.5 foot, but that's what we asked for. It's what we had asked for 2 years ago. That was approved. So essentially, no change. No change in the neighborhood. Quite obviously, quite apparently, no change. So I also have Brad Shapiro and Matthew Grono, who are the 2 principals of Jabber 5. Mr. Shapiro will address you to discuss briefly why the project has not yet been developed. They have every intention of developing it, or else we wouldn't be wasting your time tonight and our time. We still think it's going to be a good project. I would be remiss in not mentioning that over the past 2 years there has been some pushback against the project, which has caused some, let's just say, has clouded the developer's ability to proceed with this in a timely fashion. I'm not saying that's the reason it's not up, but it is certainly was not helpful. We had some adequate public facilities issues, which turned out not to be an issue, but it caused some concern and some delay. Had some open space issues, which actually resulted in the developer's check being returned to them, which that just caused some consternation and some unnecessary worry along the way. The primary reason the project has not been developed is economics. Really, the economy has not been that conducive for developers to borrow the money that they need. You'll hear more from Mr. Shapiro about that. So unless you have some questions of me, I'm going to ask Mr. Shapiro to come forward.
Good evening. Brad Shapiro, 28 North Hickory, Bel Air, Maryland, 21014. Happy holidays to all of you guys. Again, like I said at the Board of Appeals a few weeks ago, I take the blame for us all being here tonight. I guess the days are short, but the years are, what do they say? The days are long, but the years are short. What has transpired over the last 2 years, basically, is the result of when we came 2 years ago and presented our plan. It was in a form that we would call a design development plan. From there, we further engaged the architect and develop a full set of construction drawings, which were not available until the late spring of 2022. And then they take, 90 days to be priced by our general contractor, Southway Builders, who's been our contractor from the jump. And they've been wonderful. At that time, the beginning of 2023, not since 2008 have we experienced that type of economic distress in the interest rate environment and in the general economy. So in the wake of COVID, it was a challenge to secure construction financing, but we're very pleased to share with you, and we attached to our application that we do now have a term sheet for our construction loan, and we are on our way to
Help me with the term sheet, what is that?
a term sheet is it's basically it's a commitment from a lender, in this case a lender in Pennsylvania, to provide our construction loan proceeds. And that's where we are today. So I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions?
I was curious in the, again, in the letter, it says, we authorized our architect to proceed to prepare a full set of construction drawings. So what's different from what you presented to us in 22?
So in this world, there's basically three sets or three phases of architectural planning. There's a schematic design, SD set, there's a design development set, and then there's the construction drawings. We came to you with what we would call the DD set, the design development set. And what it does is it allows us to share with the neighborhood in which we're working a pretty detailed plan, but not a full set of construction drawings that are priced with the details of the doors and the windows and the brick.
Okay.
And until you have that detail, can you get really good pricing from our contractor.
Okay, so nothing has changed from what we saw.
Nothing
2
has
years ago.
changed.
Yeah, okay.
Nothing has changed. It's really a macroeconomic issue that we were challenged with, and it's not unique to us, right? I mean, the interstate environment has been challenging for the whole industry.
Just one point of process that we should, in my view, should ponder and actually should include in the motion to extend. While you got your extension on the height variance restored by the Board of Appeals, it is subject to a 60-day appeal of that by the public. So as we hopefully agree to extend, we need to have that as a clarification.
Right, 30-day, yeah.
I
30
was
days.
going to
Mrs.
clarify
Thompson.
that. Yeah. So before you guys voted, I was going to pop in. So the applicant, at the request of the town, has waived his right to file an appeal of the Board of Appeals decision. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cahill, the decision was November 19th. So he has waived that right in writing and provided that to the town. That being said, the Board of Appeals hearing had, I'm not going to say, it had some opposition. So specifically 4 individuals were pretty vocal and they participated in the hearing. I can't get opposition to obviously waive their right, and they have a right to appeal that decision within 30 days. So any decision that you made to grant the extension would have to be conditioned upon the expiration of the 30-day appellate period, which would be approximately December the 19th, which is, we'll be here before we know it. So,
And we haven't heard of anybody interested in filing an appeal,
Correct.
although I know it
yeah, I have not
Believe me, it
either.
could
I will
happen.
say that.
could happen, but we're not aware of anybody's
Yeah,
saying we're
Counselor,
going to
your
file.
guidance to us would be, we should include it in this motion tonight.
correct. I would recommend that it be conditioned on the expiration of the Board of Appeals appellate period on the variance. Because without the variance, his approval that you had granted originally kind of falls apart, because he's got to kind of start over again. But because he went back through before your decision expired, that sort of revested him in everything. Everything was the same pretty much at the Board of Appeals from one case to the next. He did not come in and ask for, you know, a 20-foot height variance. It was 1.5 is the maximum. So I hope that helps.
To clarify that if there is an appeal, that doesn't nullify your extension. Your extension still exists, it just places it on hold.
Correct. It freezes everything. So if you granted the 1-year extension, it would just literally freeze it as of the date that it was filed. So if that appeal is not resolved for, you know, and it could be a long time, depending on how far it went, you know, if we went to the circuit court and somebody didn't like the decision and we ended up in the appellate courts, that could take several years. I'm not saying that would happen. Don't get worried, Mr. Shapiro. But, I mean, it would just freeze everything, you know, as far as the approvals are concerned. It's not his fault in that sense, if that helps.
All right. Did you wish for anyone else to speak?
No, that's all
Okay.
we plan for them, unless you have some questions.
Okay. Sir, did you wish to participate? Yes. If you'll state your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Gary Williams. My address is 2905 Ruskin Court, Abingdon, Maryland. I'm here on behalf of Two Records Entertainment. It's a local entertainment company and production company here in Harford County. In conjunction with Sean Boland's, Das Beer Hall, Main Street Tower, Mannequin on Main, Full Heart Solutions, we'd like to have a New Year's Eve party utilizing the Bel Air parking garage.
That's very good. I'm sorry. I was wondering if you had any comments about what we're discussing at the moment. So, no, okay.
That should go before the town commissioners, I think.
Should that go before the town commissioners then?
Yeah.
Would that be the best?
I have before.
Oh,
I've-
uh-huh.
They're aware. Since this is I guess 2 weeks ago. So I've spoken with them, and since then the idea has kind of grown, and wanted to get the assistance of several local officials and advice. Also, we wanted to cut off Main Street at Cortland in Pennsylvania, so it'll be a free flow. At 12, we would like to do fireworks, not fireworks, but like a laser fireworks show, so it'll be pet and vet friendly. At 12 a.m. will be a showcase of open mic hosts at Boland's, a black tie, red carpet affair. We do have the ability to reach out to some A-list people. Also, the major focus is it's going to be a fundraiser for Harford County Public School teachers, staff, substitutes.
Very nice. But
One thing I can, the purview of this board really isn't event-driven. It just is looking at particular cases that go in front of it. So I think they would be
We're the plan-
limited to that.
We're the planning
input.
commission, but we don't plan, we have no authority to plan things like that. Our endorsement or our opposition would have no bearing on your ability to do it. You're
Yeah.
working with the town board of commissioners, what, first and third Mondays? That's your.
So just say with the
just-
commissioner
yeah,
track.
Yeah, there's just, we are very defined on what we do. Some people think we have too much latitude as it is. But we have nothing to do with approving something like that. Even though we're the planning commission, we don't get to plan parties.
But best of luck to you. I hope
Yeah, thank
that it goes through. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
I envy you having that hat on a night like
Oh,
tonight.
yeah, oh, hey, yeah, it's quite versatile
Well, you
too.
got a hairline kind of like mine, but I don't have a hat like
Yeah, I've
that.
been trying to grow it, but it's not cooperating, you know.
It
You
looks
can't
great.
get everything you pray for.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Great.
thank you, though.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Well, I move that the request for extension by Jabber 5, I might just say in advance of the motion that here again, all 5 of us are able to vote on this because we're just considering the terms of the extension. 2 of us weren't here even when this thing was approved, but you have every standing tonight to participate and to vote. And Liz is nodding yes. And the merits of the application really are not relevant to the merits of the extension. They stand on their own. So with all that in mind, I move that we approve the extension of Jabber 5 from December 1st, 2024 to December 1st, 2025, with the proviso that the recent Board of Appeals action reinstating the height variance survives the 30-day appeal process and is in good standing to go forward.
Second.
okay. Jimmy?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you very much. We're going to be continuing the meeting, so if
Good
you
luck,
could.
folks.
Yes, and if you could hold your conversations till you leave, that would be appreciated. Happy holidays.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow.
I did send out a project status report, but one thing that did not populate was the last column. And so we're trying to figure out how to correct that. So that's where, you know, the date that the building permit was issued is not on there, so I apologize that we don't have that. But everything else is on there. If you have any questions, I can go through it if you'd like, or.
So Taco Bell still has to come back with a design on that building.
Is that what you have for, I can go back, because I think that we had an approval for the
We
Taco Bell
eventually did.
architecture.
Yeah, we did,
Okay.
about, several renditions, but I think we did approve it,
Yeah,
yes.
they-
for 3
they-
meetings.
They actually satisfied all the requirements that they were required for the architecture, for the site plan, and they finally gave us a development agreement, which was, what, 2 weeks ago? So they should, that construction should start relatively soon. Yes, sir. They have not filed the demo permit. Yeah.
Wasn't there another condition with the shopping center about a fence?
Yes, and that was provided on the Kelly side, and there is also a condition on the Route 24 side of adding shrubs.
Hmm.
But we're not, the way that we have looked at that is that those shrubs were actually added and then they died. So we're going to still require that the shrubs be added again. But since it's winter, we are going to allow that to be delayed for a few months.
I'd be interested to hear any update about 128 Bond and Raising Cane Chicken.
128 bond, standard on bond.
Yep.
They are working actually pretty feverishly
Yeah.
to submit final plans. Actually, we have final plans done for them, signed.
Now, is
They,
Because this is he was to come in August with a revision to the plan that we approved. This is gonna be a new plan then, or what?
he got a plan approved originally and was going to revise that approval.
Then he withdrew.
And he
And then he
withdrew it.
withdrew, and he has not come back. He has no, he does not have an intention of making that revision.
He's
So
going
he's going to
back to the
operate under the
original.
original approval.
That would be what, is that 60 apartments then?
That
30.
is
30.
30
30.
30
apartments.
apartments. 60 was
Yes.
the original. 30 apartments and retail on the ground floor.
Right, so retail on the ground floor, 3 floors of residential, and the top floor would be
One
office.
The,
Hmm.
the thing that he's not following through would have been 2 floors of office, right?
Right,
Mhm.
right.
He was going to eliminate the one floor residential, but of course that would result in a recalculation of the parking, and he just could not make it. I think it was just too difficult with the site restrictions, so. And the tandem and the shared and all that stuff.
Yeah, you know, and, since it's, especially since it's not relevant to this case, because he's not pursuing it, why would the tandem parking be okay for apartments but not for office?
Oh, I think it would be, okay. I think what, our staff report when he came back was that he needed to show how he was doing it. And, I think that was just something he wasn't sure he would be able to do.
I thought, well, maybe it reverts back to a day when more people came in and out of offices. Now we can't even get the employees to come in and out of the offices. But that's not the case. It's not, it's the
It's-
standard, is the standard different for office? Why would he have to do anything different for it to be
And
more
actually,
office and less
the
apartment?
calculation is increased quite a bit. I can't remember how many
More
spaces.
parking for office?
Yeah. But there's more
Well-
control over the people who are in the offices, because you can tell them, hey, this is your parking space. But-
Yeah. I just wonder if that's something that could be revisited down the road to see if that's still relevant, because offices are different today than they were.
You're exactly right there, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, I go back to my early days traveling around to different insurance agencies, and people used to come in to buy policies and pay their premium, and now they never go to an office.
Right.
You know, so offices now are mostly about employees.
Although if you're an Amazon employee, you're going back to the office pretty soon.
But even then, it's employees, it's not public coming and going to do anything.
You're right.
They just don't come in there.
Did you?
In fact,
Yeah, I was hoping for that August meeting. I had a whole bunch of questions. But anyway, I wanted to clear up a couple of things I saw in the plans and all that I saw about the stacked parking. How is that interpreted, the stacked parking?
How is it interpreted?
Mm-hmm. Stacked parking to me is a driveway where you park one car in front of another.
Right. And there are several places in town where that's done, but it's pretty limited. The major place that you find stacked parking is in overlook at Gateway, which is down at the end of Gateway Drive. In their garage, they have stacked parking. And it seems to work for them because you've got, say, a 2-bedroom unit that has 2 cars,
they get 2 spaces.
and they get 2 spaces, and one may be a car they never hardly use, or it may be that they've worked out a system. But there's not too many other residential developments that have stacked parking.
So they would be dedicated to the residents. They wouldn't be open spaces at any certain point then, if they're stacked.
I think as far as standard on bond, half of the spaces are going to be dedicated to the residences. The other half, and this was you guys, said that you do.
You didn't
that you,
let him
said-
figure it out, I think is what Don
Right,
said,
that was
right?
before you got here,
Yeah.
Jenny. That you chose not to get more information from them as to how they were going to handle that.
Well, and they met the parking requirement, and then the disposition of the stacked spaces, well, that's up to you, and you've got tenants to satisfy, and, you know, the Gateway Drive is probably a good example where you have, a couple people renting a unit and deal with your own stacking and who gets in and who gets out, and apparently it's working out okay for them.
Did you have
What was
any
the
other
other one?
questions?
Raising Cane and Hartford
Do you have
Mall,
any
as
other
far as that
questions?
goes.
Raising Cane
Oh,
has
okay.
all of their approvals.
I
They
did.
are ready to go.
Okay.
I
It was
cannot
posted.
tell you whether they have the demo permit for the old Pete Cycle or Grove Plumbing, but we're not holding them up. They're all,
They're approved?
yeah,
Okay.
they got everything
sound
they
like
need.
they're serious still?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And-
Satisfying the neighbor.
Yes. Yeah, I think everything has been, the only thing that I need to get together with the neighbor is to make sure that they have places for their construction people to park. If they're parking on the street, that's a problem. So, but so far, nothing from them.
This is Raising Cane's?
Raising Cane's, where old Pete Cycle is?
Yeah, are they parking, they're not parking on the street, are they?
No, they
Because we
can't.
remember, we told them,
We
don't you
cha-
dare.
Well, and the residents all got together and changed the restrictions, so there's no way they can. Now, I told most of the residents, or a lot of the residents, that they would have to call the police department to get them to come out and give a ticket, because normally they don't go out outside of downtown
Yeah.
very often. So,
All those years when it was Pete's, they loaded and unloaded everything every day out on the street.
Mhm.
Well,
Boats and,
the residents said that Pete Cycle was not exactly a
yeah,
neighbor-friendly
no,
development.
no, it's hard to get through there. How about Hartford Mall? Anything going on there?
Hartford Mall, we had several meetings over the last few days. They are trying to get their ducks in a row with regard to extension of utilities, with regard to development agreement. And we actually required of them, because it was so complicated, is a approval agreement. All of which have kind of cycled through all of the lawyers in the area. And they, I think, are relatively, I think you'll see some activity where we'll get final plans from them in January, February, and then they'll be able to proceed. And there may be other activity on the property.
When's their-
outside of the
when was their
residences.
approval? Is it-
January 4th of this year is when it was granted.
Oh,
Yeah.
was this year?
Yeah,
They're coming up on 1 year.
So
yeah, they're coming up on 1 year.
And
And they were advised, you have 2 years.
Yeah, that is something on our approvals we're gonna put in the all approval letters from now on,
Get one, 2 years.
giving them their time that they have to worry about. And if
Now-
there is an appeal, how to do that.
Have they commented at all? Is the street rumor correct that Macy's is closing in March? Do we know that?
I can't tell you that. It's not up to me to make that public.
I know we have no purview on our, what's happening with the tower. Has anyone moved in to take that restaurant over?
Oh, I don't know.
They have new
really.
owners,
Yeah, I heard they sold.
yes.
Okay.
And, well, I probably shouldn't say that when I know. I mean, I was told that by the people, one of the owners, what was going on up there. So it's gonna be a nice restaurant. They're gonna turn into an old restaurant we all loved in Hartford County. It's one of the owners.
They're actually under an existing zoning violation that when these COVID restrictions that have been extended many years, when those go away, we'll send them a letter, and start the process. It's a paperwork issue with them. It's not a big deal, but the old owner never did. So,
Speaking of COVID stuff, how about Z-Vault?
Z-Vault also has a new owner. They did get rid of their Jersey barriers, which we had sent them a violation letter for. I have to go by there and find out whether or not the tables and chairs are still there. I don't know if
I
they
don't
are.
Probably
remember.
pulling down Main Street right now.
They might be, yeah.
Yeah.
So those have to go away, or they have to have some other way of protecting the people sitting there. So I kind of doubt they're going to stick around, because why would you in the middle of winter? But
Are they going to have different things than what they were offering before? Is it going to be a complete?
that I don't know.
Another business owner that sold gelato that are now, they're gonna have gelato and some other things there.
Gelato would be great.
Hey, that's awesome.
See, yeah, I don't know this stuff, so.
Just found that out today.
All right, is that it?
Chick-fil-A is actually listed on here, but they're basically done. They've gotten their
Yes.
UNO. They doubled up their drive-through, and I think that's really helped them process their,
And the plantings, wasn't that a part of it too?
the plantings up front all got revised, so that's all in there, so.
Do we have a meeting next month, or do we know yet?
Thank you for reminding me. It is likely that we will have a submission for you to look at for changing the code. I don't know what that looks like, because we just haven't worked through the details, but it's likely to be changes to the mixed-use development code, and possibly to density limits. I just don't know the final version of this until it is worked through. So that will be something that you guys will look at and provide an opinion on. I think all of that will be done by the 2nd of January. I know that that's not a great time to be meeting. But if all that's finished, then we'll have a meeting, and I'll know that before Christmas.
And why do I have this?
That was just a reference on the backside for the code section that
Okay.
controls extensions.
Okay. Move for
All right.
adjournment.
Yeah.
Whoops.
No, that's okay. Will we know in advance if you're going to present something that it will code change?
Yes.
That you'll also let us know how that would impact anything that might be in the works right now? or-
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Happy holidays.